welcome to Essential EGL+Batch. This video series is based upon EGL Development Tools version 0.8. This is Lesson 25. In Lesson 25, the first thing we need is a new package. So let's create a new package called lab.lesson25. And then in the lab.lesson25 package, let's create a new source file. The source file is going to be called table1info. In this lesson, we're going to be getting the contents of table 1. So we'll need a record. We're going to create two records, one for the SQL and one for converting the SQL so we can display it on the screen. So the record for the SQL, we're going to put in type entity. Now if we do organize imports, it doesn't resolve the word entity, but entity is under EGL+X.persistence. So it's EGL+X.persistence.entity. Now the record is of type entity. For the column's not going to be called field 1. It's going to be called F1. So what we can do is put in an annotation of column and put in the name of the field and the result set. And again, with organize imports, it does not bring in the column. It doesn't resolve that. It's under EGL+X.persistence.SQL. So it's EGL+X.persistence.SQL column. We need another source file. This time we're going to call it selectlib. This is going to be our library. It's going to have the usual decoration where a demo function calls another function. In this case, it's select from table 1. And then the select from table 1 function is going to call display table 1. So the purpose of display table 1 is to go and get the contents of table 1 and print it on the console. So we're going to create a new function called getTable1info, and it's going to return an array of the table1info record. Now, the table1info record is not an entity type. It's just a basic record. So back in display table 1, we're going to get the table1 info into a list. Okay, let's fill out getTable1info function. Since we're using SQL, we're going to need a data source. And we're going to get that data source from connectionlib.getConnection. Organize imports brings in the connection lib. But again, it doesn't bring in the SQL data source. We're going to have to bring in with an import of EGL+X.persistence.SQL.datasource. Okay, to get records from a table, and this is records, we need an array. So we're going to call the array SQL record, and the type is going to be table1 SQL. Open and close brackets means it's an array, and the open and close curly brace means it's going to be initialized. So it'll be an empty array. Then the syntax for getting records is get, and then the name of the array, with pound SQL, open and curly braces, and then from DS. Now we already have a copy of the SQL statement in script 23, so let's bring that in and paste it into our EGL code. Well, we have most of the select statement that we want. And again, it's important to remove the semicolon. To emphasize that, let me do that again. We need to remove the semicolon. Now I'm going to fill this out as is typical in a production application where we have an alias for the table. So it's t1.f1 as f1. So f1 is going to end up in field 1 because of the column annotation. F2 is going to end up in field 2, again, because of the column annotation. Now, because SQL record is an array, the get statement, one get statement is going to get the entire result set into that array. So let's count up. So we'll iterate through the list of SQL records, and we're going to convert each one from Table 1 SQL to Table 1 info, because what we really are after is an EGL record that we can use. By convention, the name of the result is going to be result, the thing that we're going to return. We're going to paste that in just before the count up, and we're going to return result. So result is Table 1 info array. Again, it's initialized with the open and close curly braces. So we're going to create one item. So item variable is equal to Table 1 info. We use the dot, and the dot will bring up the list of fields that are in the record. The content assist is going to be working for us. So we're going to copy the values from the SQL record to the regular EGL record, the basic record. And then we're going to add that record to the result. So getTableInfo, or getTable1Info function, is going to actually get the entire contents of Table 1, but it's going to return it as a basic record. Now, because it's an array, it's going to actually go through the result set and get all of the records that are created by the select statement into that array. Now back to the display Table 1 function. We're going to write out a header to the console, so it shows the beginning of Table 1, and we're going to write a footer to the console so that it shows the end of the contents of Table 1. Now for each of the records, what we're going to do is again use a count up technique. So we're going to iterate through all of the records in the list. We're going to write out the actual contents of the record. Now in this case, field 1 and field 2 are both integers. So what we're going to do is we're going to format the integer for display on the console. So first we'll format field 1. And if you remember the syntax for the pattern is number signs are converted to spaces if there's no digits to display, and ampersand is converted to a 0 if there are no digits. So this should make it look very nice on the console. Okay. So that's the library for so far. Now let's create a program. Create a new source file for lesson 25 called lesson 25. We'll use the usual decoration, and the main function is going to call the selectlib.demo. Let's take this for a test drive. I'll click on the console icon, and let's take a look at the console. We have a message, null password is not supported. What is that message? Well, let's go to the database development perspective, and we'll see that we're not connected, so we need to connect. We haven't typed in a password, so that's where the null password message comes from. Well, now that we're connected, we can take this for a test drive again. We'll bring up the console, and it shows us the content of Table 1. This is another lesson of Essential EGL Batch. Thanks for watching.